Beautiful ladies, welcome back to my channel. So I've noticed one thing in common amongst women of all races and age groups, and that is this sort of incessant hate towards Tyla. Now, I haven't spoken about Tyla on this channel primarily because I didn't really have much to say. I think that her talent speaks for itself, her grace and her class, but I do want to speak to this hate and why it could be, because what we see Tyla experiencing on the internet is something that, if we're honest, a lot of us experience in our personal life in some way or form. So sort of doing this as a way to encourage you and to take heart if you have similar experiences to Tyla, and to know that it's not anything that you have done, but to know that, it's an external factor that you simply cannot control. And when you experience hate, especially if you are that girl, you are the total package, you look good, you are talented in some way, shape, or form, maybe not as a singer or entertainer, but maybe you're good at your job or you're good at modeling, and you have manners, you have a good personality. Some people call that the triple threat. And when you are the total package, people think that it's not fair. People think that you should only have one of those things. And if that one of those things is beauty, a lot of times they think that you are not deserving of that beauty, especially as an exotical. So just keep that in mind, especially if you're younger and you're around Tyla's age. Do not take people's bullying and harassment as a sign that you should slow down. And certainly do not try to find a way to mold yourself into appeasing them. They'll kind of use tactics like intimidation tactics, like, oh, you think you're all that? You're not actually all that. I remember when I was in high school, girls would pick on me. So this one black girl, this one Asian girl, and this one Indian and native girl would pick on me. And it's like, they'd be like, oh, she thinks she's all that. She thinks she's hot. Just because I simply showed up and didn't walk with my head down. I wasn't the type who was like in people's face and boasting about myself. I kind of just showed up. I was trying to navigate high school, a completely new space, just like anybody else. And these people felt that I was triggered, and they saw something in me that I quite frankly didn't see in myself yet. And because I didn't see that in myself yet, I allowed those words to chip away at my confidence, because it was like I couldn't handle the pressure, number one. And number two, I wanted to be included. So it's like we're socially conditioned to make ourselves malleable and to find ways to adapt to our surroundings so that we can be accepted and maintain that hierarchy of needs. And one of those hierarchy of needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs specifically, is having social connection, having connections with other human beings. So if you are someone in this situation, again, someone around Tyla's age or even older, like this is something that, we still experience. I still experience many years later. Rather than trying to find a way to hide yourself, diminish yourself, or put away those characteristics that make you great, get around people who can tolerate you. And sometimes that may mean stepping outside of your comfort zone and meeting new people, especially in high school. Maybe if you kind of hung around the cool girls, the popular girls, maybe your crowd is actually amongst the drama kids or amongst the science kids. Don't be willing to sacrifice your identity and your gifts, because you never know what the future has in store for you if you cultivate those gifts and cultivate them early, if you just tap into that and not allow people to run you. The girls who were steadfast in staying true to who they were and keeping an open mind to meet new people were the ones who ended up getting further ahead in life, compared to the girls that were malleable and allowed themselves to people please, essentially, for people's approval. So, memberships are now live on this channel. Click the link in the description box to sign up to receive access to exclusive content and perks. Women of all races and age groups are united in their hatred towards Tyla because Tyla possesses all of the qualities and privileges that the average teen and woman could only dream of. Okay, she was just a regular high school student. Even before high school, if you look on YouTube, there are videos of her doing like talent shows and uploading videos to YouTube. A regular girl from South Africa. She's a YouTuber turned international sensation. She's slim yet curvy. She has naturally proportionate features that many achieve with plastic surgery, Like her nose, I don't think she's gotten any work done at her young age. Her nose, she has a perfect curvature. She really doesn't have to get any work done. And she has access to celebrity crushes that the average woman would do anything to meet, like Drake. Like, as soon as Tyla became mainstream, Drake was in her DMs. Most girls who listen to like mainstream music would only dream of the opportunity to even see Drake in person, let alone have him in their DMs. So, of course, people are going to be peeved by the fact that she literally is the personified version of the it girl. She has everything going on. And on top of that, she has fame, success, money. There's no confirmed data on her current net worth, but it's estimated to be at least over 1 million. So Tyla really is that girl. Tyla also has confidence, and that adds to the blow because confidence is a form of audacity that is socially unacceptable if you are the total package. It's almost like, if you already have beauty bestowed upon you, you should humble yourself because it's not fair to the other girls who may not be as beautiful. And if you're confident, it's almost like you're rubbing it in people's face. That's the way that people perceive it, instead of them seeing it as a sign of, I feel comfortable in my skin, and you should find some sort of empowerment within yourself and be comfortable within yourself. And when you're confident within yourself, you are thereby empowered to enhance your own looks and show up as your best self. And so essentially, being a confident, pretty woman is seen as gloating, which again is why so many pretty girls are often humbled. And this usually happens at a very young age, around Tyla's age, and even younger. Sometimes it starts in the home where it's like, your mother, your grandmother, your aunts and cousins, especially if you're mixed race, exotical, whatever, you're kind of told like, humble yourself so that you don't make the other little girls feel uncomfortable. And even if you show up as just a regular girl, not gloating and just comfortable in her skin, a lot of times if your head is not down and you don't have blatant low self-esteem, those girls see it as you not being humble, and they see that as like confidence confused as arrogance, and they go out of their way to humble you, which is why a lot of times you'll hear stories of girls getting gum stuck in their hair if they have longer hair than the average girl, or just simply just made fun of or ignored for no reason, simply because they are comfortable in their skin. And maybe they're not, but maybe they have managed to outwardly show the world at the very least that they're not insecure. But those girls who are clearly struggling with insecurity interpret it differently and want to punish you for it, essentially. And so some common talking points that I hear regarding Tyla, number one, is that she's arrogant. But why do we equate confidence with arrogance? Where do we draw the line between the two in order to know whether or not someone is arrogant and no longer just confident? It's almost like, again, one or nothing. You're either very insecure, or on the other hand, like, you're blatantly arrogant, which again can give them ammunition, something to hold over you, to critique you on, to say, oh, here's another example of why she doesn't deserve to be accepted by us or included, because she has this negative, socially unacceptable trait that, we have the right to expose and shun. It's almost like confidence makes you too perfect and therefore makes you not palatable. But then at the same time, if she really was insecure and not confident, we wouldn't know who Tyla is. We wouldn't be talking about her today. And it's almost like people like that, so that, again, it doesn't highlight their own insecurities. But number two, people would shame her for that same thing and say, oh, girl, you should be more comfortable in your skin. Nobody likes an insecure woman. But the moment that a woman decides to step out of that, you need to kind of slow down. So it's damned if you do and damned if you don't. Another talking point that I hear is that Tyla denies her blackness, that she thinks that she's superior because she's mixed race. In the South African context where Tyla is from, Tyla is defined as colored because she's of mixed heritage, and none of her parents are 100% Black. The one drop rule only exists in North America, and I thought you guys took issue with exoticals and racially ambiguous women claiming Blackness because it's seen as erasure. But then at the same time, because a lot of Black women center exoticals as their beauty standard, they take issue when that woman doesn't outwardly claim I'm Black and I'm proud. It's like the only time that you can claim Blackness is number one, if I center you and pedestalize you, and number two, if you then in turn claim me and deny everything else about you. Why should she only center her small percentage of like actual African phenotype, but then deny her, I think it's Irish ancestry and East Indian ancestry in order to appease your insecurities? The goalpost is always moving in order to fit whatever narrative exists in the Black community and whatever you guys run with at the moment. Another talking point that I hear is that she's fake. She's accused of being fake because she focuses on her craft and doesn't speak much about her personal life. Again, it comes with that confidence. It's almost like you're saying with this talking point that no one could ever actually be this confident. No one could actually ever be this secure in themselves. And so that means she's just putting up a front. And, she just needs to keep it real. But when people say that, they're actually just saying that I want to have some leverage over you to level the playing field. I want to see your insecurities essentially, and I want you to volunteer those insecurities. I don't want to have to do any sleuthing to try to figure out or assume. I want you to confirm to me what those insecurities are so I can decide whether or not you're all that, whether or not you are an actual threat. And that's a common talking point that I'll hear used against pretty girls in general, is that, oh, she's just being fake. When no, she's just not walking around being a victim the way that you would like her to, and she does not owe that to you. Nobody owes you their vulnerability. No one owes you access to their insecurities, because we all know that when you cross that line and you show people your insecurities, especially at that young age, people will then turn around and try to weaponize that against you to further humble you and level the playing field so that they can rise above you instead of doing the actual work to be a better person, or instead of just not comparing. Tyla essentially has boundaries and people don't like that. That's the main issue. Another talking point that I hear is that she only moved to America to tap into the Black American market, essentially wanting to utilize the Black American market to her benefit while also denying her Blackness. But no, like, she moved to America because she wanted to be an international superstar, and America's music market is vastly larger than South Africa's, and people like her music. Yes, a good chunk of her fan base are Black people, but like that would also be true if she stayed in South Africa, because her vibe is more of that Afrocentric type of vibe. But she also has fans from outside of the Black community, and I think that's why Black people don't like her, because she doesn't just rely on the Black community to make her famous. Other people like her sound, other people like her music, which is why you hear her music on the radio. If she was not marketable to the mainstream audience outside the Black community, they would have never picked up on her music, and she would not be as mainstream as she is today, and she certainly would not be performing at Coachella. And another talking point that I hear about Tyla is that she's entitled. And people think this because she gained fame at a young age, thereby achieving something that the average person will never achieve. Wanting to become an artist is a common dream for many, and many give up because they aren't able to achieve fame and success because the music industry is highly competitive. In North America, less than 1%, so 0.25%, reach the mainstream or superstar levels, and many artists struggle to achieve even modest financial success through streaming, with some requiring millions of streams on platforms like Spotify to earn a significant income. But Tyla has surpassed this. So when a young woman achieves something that is statistically nearly impossible before the age of 25, and you're still struggling with your career, with a mountain of student loans and other debt in your late 20s and beyond, of course you're going to be triggered by someone like Tyla, who appears to have done very little to acquire her success. Which of course is false, because if you look at, again, older videos of her on YouTube and you hear stories about people from her hometown, you can see that she was dedicated to her craft from a young age. She must have put in hours and hours and hours of practice into her craft to get to where she is today, when probably the average kid her age was doing other things. And that's totally fine. But we cannot downgrade and downplay someone's success as, oh, it was just handed to them, when again, the stats show that it's impossible for someone to achieve that level of success without first putting in many, many grueling unpaid hours with no guarantee that they'll ever make it to a fraction of what Tyla has achieved. This, mixed with the fact that she is fit and attractive and acquired a bit of luck, is why she's a superstar and the average woman is not. It's a hard pill to swallow for many. Many women struggle with their career prospects, especially around Tyla's age. You know, you think that if you're not like fully established in your career, are you still, a lot of women still don't know what they want to do at 23. You kind of think that, oh my gosh, if I don't figure things out by 25, 30, then my life is over. Especially when you have things like Forbes 30 under 30. And it's like, wow, like look at how many of these women are doing, you know, similar to what I wanted to do. And they're able to achieve success at a young age. And I'm still struggling and I have this mountain of debt and this useless degree. It makes you question your life choices and it makes you feel less than. And on top of that, many women don't develop a keen sense of self until much later in life, their late 20s and beyond, because your prefrontal cortex does not fully develop until 27 years of age. So the fact that Tyla was able to achieve this level of success and her brain is still developing just shows how much of a powerful woman she is and how much greater she can become once her brain fully develops. And that is a problem for a lot of people. Many go through depression and anxiety as a result, especially when you measure your success based on someone else's success. Comparison is a thief of joy, they say. Then of course you're going to feel like crap, especially when you center other people instead of realizing that everyone's path is different. And, you know, we're all going to experience bumps and setbacks along the way in life. It just is what it is, including celebrities and superstars like Tyla. Maybe she's experienced a lot of setbacks that we don't know about. And people would say, well, you know, we'd like to hear stories about this so that, you know, she's more personable. But you also have to remember that because everyone's journey is personal, they don't owe you that information. They don't need to tell you that in order to validate yourself. So rather than looking to other people to validate you, making themselves more personable and sharing their struggles with you, you should do whatever it takes to validate yourself, whether that's through therapy, whether that's through believing in your craft, hanging around like-minded individuals and adopting a growth mindset so that you won't be triggered by complete strangers like Tyla or maybe, you know, the other it girl in your local community, because you know that your experience and your efforts are also valid, and one day it will materialize the way that it's meant to materialize. You may never become a superstar like Tyla. Less than 1% again of the population will. So you're in good company with the rest of us. But that doesn't mean that you cannot achieve great things. That doesn't mean that you cannot become a successful entrepreneur, doctor, politician, whatever that path is for you. You just need to find that path and be dedicated to it the way that Tyla was and still is dedicated to her craft. People also need to keep in mind that it's very hard to maintain this momentum long term because many artists who started off like Tyla, they end up fizzling out because they failed to make themselves relevant as time progressed, which is why we have terms like one-hit wonder. You just come onto the scene and you make a big bang and then they kind of fizzle out and nobody knows, nobody hears from them. Artists like Amerie, Carrie Hilson, arguably, like these women were like top of their game back in the day, but for whatever reason, they weren't able to find a way to remain relevant. And so they kind of just fizzle off and people hold on to their older music as positive memories. People become superstars like Mariah Carey, Taylor Swift, Rihanna, Beyonce, because they evolve with the times while maintaining the essence of what made people fall in love with them in the first place. And so if Tyla wants to continue to have this success, if she has a good agent, manager, whoever in her corner to coach her along the way, as well as good mentors, like she could very well be the next Rihanna, Beyonce, and beyond. Like I can see her not just doing music, but also getting into acting, having her own lines, whatever it may be, maybe even makeup, fashion, lingerie, whatever, because she has the face for that. She already walked the Victoria's Secret's runway, so like the possibilities are endless for her. Anyway, that's my thought on Tyla. Let me know what you think about this down below in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.